everyone, welcome back to our Accounting 210 Chapter 2. In this video, we will continue with our learning objective of Chapter 2, Building Blocks of Manager Accounting. Last time, we talked about learning objective 1, 3 different types of companies, learning objective 2, the 6 function along the value chain. So I hope you get some idea, a lot of terminology. So today we will continue with our discussion, and we try to set a goal, right? We try to finish learning objective 3 and learning objective 4. Let's see how much we can do today. Learning objective 3, talking about 2 different types of costs, because actually chapter 2, chapter 3, and then chapter 4, they talk about cost. We will go deal with cost a lot. So what's the meaning of a cost? What's the meaning of a cost? Cost is if you want to get something, you have to give up something. That give up something is the cost, right? In our manufacturing setting, in our businesses, I say you want to get a car, but you have to buy money for the parts, to hire someone. So you will have labor costs, you will have material costs. So those are the costs. We can, classify costs to different types. So in this learning objective, we want to first classify to either direct cost or indirect cost. From the name, you can kind of get some idea, right? So direct cost is the cost that is direct. Indirect cost is the cost that is not direct, but that almost, I didn't explain anything, honestly. So let's look at the proper way to define direct cost and the indirect cost. Before we do that, we have to know there is something called the cost objects. So a cost can be direct cost for one cost object, but can be indirect cost for another cost object. So we want to first make sure when you talk about cost, you talk about, hey, the cost is related to what? That what is the cost objects? So is anything for which managers want to know the cost, right? So if I say, hey, what's the cost for the car? Then you talk about the car as the cost object. If you said, hey, what's the cost of this department? Then the department will be the cost object. So you have to make sure what are you talking about. So textbook use Toyota cost objects, you can be the individual units, or you can be the model, you can be even marketing, business segment. So you have different objects. If the question doesn't tell you, basically in our class at least, we focus on one unit, right? When we talk about the cost, we talk about one piece of the car, a car's cost, a Toyota's car's cost. We don't really talk about, the segment or model or other things. Okay, next one. Now we know that we want to get the proper definition of direct and indirect. So direct cost is the cost that can be traced, to the cost object, that can be traced to the cost object. I want to say easily, and then, if you want to trace the cost, you definitely can, but some costs you have to spend hours, thousands of dollars to trace them. Even you can do that, it's not easily, so it might not be the direct cost. So you will say, hey, what's the meaning of this? It can be traced to the cost object. What's the meaning? So let's think about a car. We still use about the Toyota car, right? Our cost object is the car. And then what is direct cost? Direct cost, if you want to manufacture the car, you have to get the material, right? You have to get the, the metal. Then, for one car, you have to use, I have no idea, but just make a 1 ton of 70 pounds of the metal. So you can trace it. You say, hey, this piece of metal is used for this car. Then that 60 pounds are used for the next car. So the direct cost, you can you can trace it. You know, hey, you know, I put this metal to this car, not that car. You know, I put these turning wheels to this car, not that car. I put this chair to this car, but not that car. So you can trace, or you can separate, right? You can separate this cost from this cost object to the other cost object. So if you can do that, then it's a direct cost. You can separate, you can trace the cost only to this specific cost object. You know, hey, for this car A, I spend 60 pounds over the metal. Car B, I spend 50 pounds over the metal. So you can know exactly, you can separate that 60 pounds from that 50 pounds. We call this as direct cost. Cost directly associated with the object, okay? And then indirect cost, you cannot trace it directly to the cost object. So you cannot separate, the costs are jointly used, You say, I don't really know what's the meaning. So think about the car also. When you build a car, you may use the lubricant, the oil, right? To make sure, hey, the parts, they connected perfectly. So you have one small drop to this car, you have the other small drop to that car. So all the cars, they jointly use that lubricant, the oil, they jointly use that material. Then that will be indirect cost. Not only for material, even for the labor. You know, like for the cleaning people. I clean this car, I clean that car, I clean the other cars. So all the cars, they jointly use my cleaning service. It's really hard to separate. You can separate, you know, if you, hey, trace my working schedule, you can know, hey, at 9:04 o'clock, I cleaned this car. 9:05, I cleaned the other car. 9:06, I cleaned that next car. You can do that, but it's not that easily. It's not, you know, efficiently to trace it directly to the cost object. So we put this cost as indirect cost. You cannot easily separate this cost to this cost object from the other cost object. So make sure you know what is direct cost, what is indirect cost. Okay. Most likely the material, you know, the assembling line workers, those are direct cost. You can know, hey, who assembled this part. But indirect cost, like, you know, shared material, shared labors, those will be indirect cost. Okay, next one. When we talk about costs, we always say we assign cost to cost object, but if it's the direct cost, we use the word trace. We can trace the cost directly to the cost object. But if it's not direct, if it's indirect, we cannot trace. So what word we should use? We allocate, okay? We allocate to our cost object. So it's less precise, The key thing is, if it's direct, we use the word trace. If it's indirect, we use the word allocate. Okay, next one, let's see, what do we have? Next one, learning objective 4. Remember we said learning objective 3 and 4, they just give us different definition of costs. Now we talk about, we still talk about the next thing, is we separate our cost, not just to direct cost and indirect, but we also separate to product cost and then period cost. So this is very, very, very important. You will hear those two terminologies, product cost and then period cost, a lot. You will learn this, you will hear this a lot. So what's the meaning of product cost? What's the meaning of period cost? If you have learned financial accounting 200, if you still remember your income statement, I believe your income statement is listed like this. Revenue minus cost of goods sold gives you gross margin, gross profit, minus all the expenses, operating expenses, right? Minus all the operating expenses. So we say the operating expenses, you get the operating income. So you get the operating income. So why we have to separate our cost to product cost and then the period cost? Because those costs, they are in different places of your income statement. Your product cost, once it's sold, it will be part of your cost of goods sold. It will be part of your cost of goods sold. And then your period cost will be going to our operating expense. So why those two costs, they are important? Because they have different places in the income statement. And you say, why it cares, right? Why it matters? Because no matter you minus this first, you minus this first, you get the same operating income. You know, it's kind of like 8 minus 2 minus 4, you still get 2. It doesn't matter. But it matters to your gross margin. It matters to gross profit. Because your product cost will become cost of goods sold and affect your gross margin, gross profit. Your period cost will not affect your gross margin. So it's important that we separate those two parts. It's important to separate those two parts. So let's look at the definition. Product cost, from the name, you can know it's related with the product, with the production. It's related with the product. It incurred by manufacturing to produce their products, right? So all the costs related with the production or related with the purchase will be product cost. Said, oh, those things sound familiar. Yeah, go back to your value chain. So everything happens in this part, in this production or purchase part. This will be our product cost. So this will be our product cost. All the other functions, R&D, you know, design, marketing, distribution, customer. So those will be our period cost. You can see how do we connect everything together, right? So let's still go back to our period cost, product cost, and finish our PowerPoint. We already talked, the product cost is related with our product, with our purchase production. We get our inventory, and when we sell it, it became cost of goods sold. We have talked about this many times. We will do the detailed number later. Period cost, it will now be your inventory. So product cost becomes your inventory first. When you sell it, it becomes cost of goods sold. Period cost is now goes to the inventory. Instead, we expense it immediately. So why we call it a period? Because we expense it the same period when it occurs. So when you have this cost, you will expense it. What's the meaning? Marketing, you spend $30,000 to market your product. How do you do that? You don't go to your inventory, you just do journal entry. Hey, marketing expense 30,000, cash 30,000, right? You pay the accountant 10,000 as the fee. So you have accountant expense 10,000 debit, you credit your cash 10,000. So you expense it immediately when it happens. Okay, so it incurs in other function. We said everything else, R&D, design, you know, marketing, you know, delivery or customer service. Those are the period cost. They are also called as operating expense or sales general and administrative. We call it sales general and administrative cost expenses. You will say, oh, I don't really understand. It's okay, don't worry. We will do some calculation, we will do some numbers, we will do some multiple choice together. Hopefully you feel better. Just reading textbook or watching the video is really dry. I understand that we do numbers, we do practice, and then hopefully you feel better. Okay, I'm looking at this, I'm just thinking about, I stop here, and then I stop here. I talk about detail in the next video. Thank you. I see you next time.